It is 5:13 p.m. in the early evening, and today I am reaching out to you to share an experience that I had. I connected with my mom again last night. It was pretty late. It was around 11 p.m. or so. But before I get into the actual experience, I wanted to thank all of those who have given their condolences. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this. Has been the toughest time in my life. And I just, the fact that people are reaching out to me and yeah, it's just, thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. But let me get into this experience that happened last night. Um, so it was about 11 o'clock. I wasn't feeling the best last night. I'm just being completely honest with you. Um, the the feelings of sadness, they come in waves, and this is what I'm learning as someone who has lost someone for the first time. That was, extremely close to me. Obviously, my mom raised me, and it's always just been my mom and I. So we were very, very close, and the sadness comes in waves. There are times when I'm just fine, but then there are times when, it just comes, and I'm, very sad and crying and just going through things. And last night was a tough night. And so I was laying in bed. I was just listening to meditative music. For those of you who may want to know the name of the music, it doesn't come to me, doesn't come to mind. If you ask me in the comments, I will look up and see what it was that I was listening to. But it was sort of meditative music, and I was just trying to relax. I did not really have the intent to go out or to have an experience, but I know that these things can just happen when I'm not thinking about it. And I probably within the last, well, since my mom passed, I've kind of given ultimate control to my more expanded self, just because I just don't feel, I don't know. I just don't, I haven't completely felt up to creating my own experiences. I've kind of tried it here and there, but I haven't really been focused on it, to be honest. This has had a huge impact on my experiences, at least temporarily. So, for those of you who wonder if things that are happening in the outside world can impact you if you are shifting or if you are having AP experiences, speaking for myself, it has impacted me, at least temporarily. I have had some experiences, but not nearly as many experiences as I would normally have. So I'm laying there, eyes shut, just relaxing, trying to, I guess, meditate, clear my head. And probably within about 10 or 15 minutes, I think I went through this transition. Now, I always talk to you about getting into that middle space, but that doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen the same way each time. This is why I always tell you, it's very important. These things can happen in different ways. I know on the subreddit and out there on the internet, they say this, and this has to happen. I'm telling you, as someone who's been doing this for 40 plus years, that it hasn't always happened like that. Sometimes, things are different. And my thoughts to this is that I think the reason why it was different is because I gave control to my expanded self. Now, I remember going through some sort of transition, and I went through some sort of long journey. But I can't remember exactly what it was. In order to reach the place that I reached, though, I did go on a journey of some sort. And it's interesting, while I was in the experience, it seemed obvious whatever this journey was. But once I opened my eyes, I couldn't recall, or maybe I couldn't picture what exactly it was that I had done to get to the place that I was. I remember ending up in a kind of winter wonderland. I mean, that's how I'm going to refer to this. There was snow everywhere. Now, for those of you who listened to the video where I talked about spreading out my mom's ashes in Mount Shasta, you'll know that there was a snowstorm when this happened. And I spread my mom's ashes out in, I guess, a forest in Mount Shasta as it was snowing, and it was quite beautiful. But this place was calm, there was snow everywhere, and it was just amazing. And I want to talk with you about something that I saw that was really strange. Again, for those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that my experiences are unique and the things that I see are very, very unique. One of the things that I saw in this beautiful, peaceful place was a sleigh, like the kind of sleigh you would see, Santa Claus would be pulling. I didn't see anybody in the sleigh, but there were these, what appeared to me, what I perceived to be wolves, a giant goose, and reindeer pulling this sleigh. it was quite unusual. It was funny because one of the things that I thought about when I opened my eyes this morning was I thought, these animals, are normally like the wolves are predators and all these things. But when I saw the animals together pulling this sleigh, they were all cooperating with one another. There was no, the wolves weren't trying to eat the goose or the geese, and the geese were giant. They were big. They were like the size of a person or something. It was quite extraordinary. And at one point, I heard my mom's voice in my head. Now, one thing I want to talk with you guys about is the fact that in the 2 times that I have connected with my mother, I have not seen her in what I would perceive to be a human form. Now, I know a lot of people see that, and I have seen that. One of the things I'm going to do today is contrast the difference between the experience I had with, or the experiences I've had with my mom, and the experience I had with a good friend that passed away in the last year or so, just to try and make a point. But the fact is, one thing is, I'm not surprised that I have not seen my mother in human form since she passed away. Because if you knew my mom, if you really truly knew her, you would know that once she left her body, that shell, that she didn't really feel, she wasn't really going to feel a need to take human form again. And it's not a necessary thing. It's definitely not a necessary thing for me to see her in that form. Just having her communicating with me and connecting with her energy has been perfect for me. I don't need to see mom in the way that she looked when she had a body. It's not necessary. She's moved on past that, and I accept that. So during our connection and our communication, again, it was difficult to understand what my mom was kind of saying, because one of the first questions I had once I connected with her was, how are things? How are things out there? Now, when she was telling me stuff, it was funny. Again, when I was there, it was like I was understanding everything. But once I opened my eyes back in the 3D world, it was like, wait a minute, what? because she was explaining how things were for her, but I don't think my mind was grasping exactly what she was saying about the other side. That's at least what my theory is. So I wanted to kind of contrast the experiences. And one of the things that experiences with my friend and with my mom, and one of the things I'm going to tell you, and one of the theories that I've had, and you may recall me speaking about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again now because of the experiences I've had, and I feel that it sort of backs up what I was saying in a way, at least for me. And that is, we have a choice, right? There's no being that is there forcing us to come back to this planet, to reincarnate a certain amount of times in order to learn lessons or do things like that. It is our choice to want to come here to learn certain things, or to either do that or to move on, to go out there and to not ever come back. So this is how I believe. And I will say this with my friend, when I saw him, the first couple of times, well, the first time I didn't really see him because I don't think he was ready to see people or beings or whatever. I ended up in some room with all these candles or whatever, but he didn't come out. The second time I saw him, he looked great. You know, he looked like my friend, but he looked younger. He looked wonderful. And then the third time I saw him, we were in some sort of bar setting or something. It was really weird. And he had basically told me that he was coming back to the earth. Now, I don't know. He didn't tell me, oh, I'm going to come back into this specific body. I just knew that he was going to be reincarnated. So that was my experience with my friend. And it seemed to me when I was communicating with my friend that, again, this was all his choice. He decided to come back to the earth. Now, with my mom, it's been a completely different thing. The first time I connected with her, I came out, I connected with her, I took her hand, which to me is a translation of connecting with her energy, and we spoke. But again, I could hear her in my mind, and I was communicating with her through my thoughts in my head. It wasn't actual like speaking to her. At least that was my perception. So that was the first time. And then the second time, again, even though I was in this winter wonderland, and by the way, I have a theory about that as well. I think that the winter wonderland was a sort of an intermediary place, an in-between place where I could connect with my mom in the place that she was, so that my last memory of, you know, being, I guess, in a sense with my mom was spreading out her ashes in this beautiful place in Mount Shasta. So it makes sense that my perception was being in this winter place. What it actually looked like, I don't know. But that was a way in which my mind was able to understand things in a way. And so I used that as a sort of platform to reach out to my mother in order to connect with her. Now, my sense has been that she is far away. Even though I can hear her, she's way out there. And again, this does not surprise me. I have this sense that she is everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And I think in some ways that's kind of what happens once we truly move on. We're everywhere. We are part of the source. And so I think that that's where she is to a certain extent. She's with me, but she's also out there at the same time. And, you know, she's sticking around. And I think making sure that I'm okay. By the way, the one of the things that I do remember, I think I recall her talking about and saying, at least this was the sense that I got. The sense that I got was that the beings over there, they are happy with what I'm doing in regards to this channel. And I think my mom is pretty proud of that. That's at least the sense that I got. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is that this place, this space that I was in, was so peaceful and so beautiful. I honestly didn't want to leave. It was amazing, but it was more about the feeling. I know I saw some really amazing, beautiful things, but it was more about the feeling that I had inside. That was the heaven for me, was the sense of peace that I had inside. No worries, no stress. That was absolutely, positively amazing. But I also wanted to add something here that I don't know if people will. You know what? I'm certain that there are going to be people who are going to disagree with me. But on this channel, I am always transparent and very upfront about how I feel. Now, again, I appreciate all the words of all the condolences and all the thoughts that are out there. And, but I want to say this, and it's very important, and I want everybody to listen to me. When you connect with somebody in the way that I am able to do it with the access that I have through astral projection or whatnot, it is not the same as reaching out to someone, getting on your cell phone and calling them and talking to them. It is not the same thing. Okay? There's a difference. There's a difference between communicating with somebody that does have a body and someone that does not have a body. It's important that you hear me on this. My mom, the being that I know or that I've known, that being is gone. Now, my mom was always more than just my mom. And now she is experiencing that aspect of her, that aspect which is infinite. But it's important. This is why one of the things that I need to do, one of the journeys that I need to take is to let go of mom, because that being is gone. And again, it's important that you hear me on this. People will have different experiences, I'm certain. This has been my experience. This has been my journey. But this is why it's important that even if you have this kind of access, that when you lose someone that you love, you still have to let go. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. Until next time, take care.